Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the LiftAffect podcast. I am your host, Matt McNeil, founder, clinical director, and director of human performance at LiftAffect, where we assist professional pilots with maintaining better mental health and optimizing their mental skills. The goal of this podcast is simple: to help pilots and other high liability professionals and disciplines come out of the shadows to discover how we can live better lives personally and professionally. Join us each episode as we discuss various topics ranging from mental health, mental skills and performance, to business, entrepreneurship, and a few other surprises along the way.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the LiftAffect podcast. We're your host, Karl Keller, and the man and kind of my Santa.
Not that fat. Jeez.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Matt McNeil. I know it's the week before Christmas, but you know, it really is that time of the year. How are you, buddy?
I'm pretty good. I got checking things off, man. Making a list. Yeah. Checking it twice.
Yeah.
I'm good. How are you? How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's that hectic time of the year, as we kind of talked a little bit about on the last podcast. It's that time of the year, and we've got most of the Christmas shopping done, and trying to catch up on some of the people in my life that I haven't kept in as good a contact as I have, and or would want to. So it's just nice trying to reconnect with some people that I think are important, but you just always say, I'm going to call them next week or tomorrow or tonight, and 3 months later, you're going, God bless it, I didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to do that and hopefully make time for my family. Today's the last day of school for the kids. So I'm going to have Chaos Central for the next 10 days or so. How about you?
We're not doing anything. That's the plan. I'm taking a few days off, which is not something I normally do.
I don't know. Those words are so foreign because you're always doing something. For you to take time off, that's blessing. You need to do that. We all need to do that for our health.
And I have selfishly said I'm taking this time off, which is fine. It's good to be selfish. So
it just puts you in a better place to help other people.
Yes. Yeah. And I've got multiple families are coming to us. We told people, if you want to, we would love to do Christmas with you, but you have to come to us because you're welcome here. We've got plenty of room. We'll house you. We'll feed you. We'll drink you. We'll take care of everything. Hell, I'll even buy your plane tickets, but we're not going anywhere. So everybody's coming here, and that's good. I think my wife is probably more stressed than I am about it. But
now you got to have the house all looking just right.
Yeah,
get all the decorations just right.
Exactly. And I'm like, but we actually don't have to have it all just right. We could just do it, you know. And she's like, no, it's got to be just right. So, but we're working. We're getting just slowly but surely, a little bit every day, putting things together, get everything ready. I've got a freezer packed full of. My sister made a bunch of like burritos and chimichangas and stuff, and she pre-made all these, and she just lives just like a mile away, my sister and her family, and so she brought them all over the other night, so we packed them in the freezer, so we're kind of like planning out the meals, and my brother-in-law dropped a bunch of stuff off last night, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I'm just happy I'm not going anywhere. I'm not.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, that every year we'd go up see my aunt and uncle up in outside Toronto in Canada, and it was always a challenge because upstate New York was always snowy. But I always loved going and seeing my aunt and uncle and their kids, my cousins. But since I've gotten married, we are the stay at home. We don't go anywhere for Christmas intentionally. We want that to be our time, and someone like you say wants to come visit, that's one thing, but we want that to be, and it's a lot less chaos. You're not having to deal with all the hectic driving in the bad weather or flying to get to the airport and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's that's just our thing. Other people like to do that, but so
I'm like vacation and maybe this is from like the flying days, like I would come home and my wife would be like, let's go out to eat. Let's go to and I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. Like I want to sit on the couch in my underwear and eat cereal, like I don't want to go. And I still have, I'll be honest, I kind of have like an aversive reaction to hotels. Like I could say if I don't ever have to stay in a hotel again for the rest of my life, I'd be a happy man. It just doesn't. People are like it's a 5-star hotel. I don't.
Yeah.
It's garbage to me. It's like
yeah.
And do you remember like the hotels? I'm sure our listeners will relate to this. Like the prestigious hotels. They're just it's a facade. Like behind the curtain, there's rats and it's totally disgusting.
And after a while, they're all the same.
They're the same.
Occasionally you'll get one that's got a little bit of a living area that's separate from the sleeping area, but almost always it's one room and a bathroom.
Yeah.
And I told people used to think how glamorous flying is, and in the aircraft is one thing, but I tell everybody, said, if you love airports and hotels, I got a job for you.
Yeah. you love hotels and ice machines at 2 a.m. and
that don't work.
Key cards that don't work after you come up from breakfast and it doesn't work every time,
Or the best one is always when either you or someone else goes, gets the key card, goes to the hotel room and find out that it's not your room and someone's in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you're in the middle of taking a bath and someone else comes in and goes, "You're in my room." No, no, you're not.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the plan, man. That's the plan.
Cool.
What are you thinking about for the holiday? I mean, so like, you and I have never really talked about, like, I think you guys are much more festive probably than we are. I mean, you got more kids too than I do.
Yes.
So that's
we used to be a lot more festive. There's been a lot of stress going on with everything that's going on with our situation. So it's toned down. I will tell you, my wife's favorite time of the year is Halloween. And then it just Halloween to New Year's, but Halloween is the big one for her.
Mm-hmm.
She goes all out with that one. It's been a little more challenging and she's gone back to school to become a nurse practitioner to get her degree. She's really gotten into the side ever since she became an EMT and then a paramedic. So she doesn't have the time to do all. She used to we have a laser engraver and we have these other things. She would always make ornaments and make all these things. And it hasn't happened the way it has in the past. So it's, but yes, we love to put up the stuff and go through all of that. And I've always said that, and I know it isn't always the case for people, but I've always looked at this time of year as where people try to be, they should do it all year round, but it seems like people try to make an effort to be a little bit nicer and not as harsh with their words. And it just always seems like it's a nicer time of the year. So we try to play into that and go, let's be grateful for all the things we have. Let's be fortunate that we have the people in our lives and the friends and our health and everything else. So we really try to focus on that and try to make it. And then we say, okay, do that the year round, but we use this as our anchor point.
I have this visceral reaction not to what you guys do, but like this idea that like, oh, it's the holidays, let's be nice. But then when it's not the holidays, then screw you, which seems to happen.
And it shouldn't be.
It's so crazy to me. Like, and I think we talked about it last week, but I hate New Year's resolutions. They're the stupidest thing in the world to me. They make no sense to me. You don't change based on a date. Like nothing changes.
I agree.
So how do we facilitate change?
Well, the way I describe it to you is this. When I was a little boy, my foster father, who I think the world of, I wish he was still here. He was not a smoker, but he had a pipe and it was like something to do with his hands. He would have this pipe and he would chew on it and he had apple tobacco and he would light it up and just take a couple puffs and then it just would sit there and go out after a while. But it's such a visceral reaction when I smell something like that. It takes me back to that moment immediately. And what I try to do with this, the example I'm given is, I want them to, whenever they think of Christmas, even because I think of Christmas year round. I hate to say it, I'm one of those that like will play Christmas music in July type stuff. That it brings back those feelings, and I have that carryover that it puts me in a better place, puts me in a better mindset and mind frame, and I try to use that. And that's why I say I look at this as our anchor point. That if you can get back to that feeling, and whenever you think of Christmas, you think of that. Whenever it is time throughout the year, that hopefully you can leverage that and make it longer than just that small period of the year. That's how I want my kids to kind of go. You know what? We should be that way year round, but you got to start before you can actually make it a habit. It's like putting the seatbelt on. You got to start clicking it before you do it without even thinking about it.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's what that's kind of how our feelings are about it. What I got a different question for you. And you know, if we want, I mean, if you look at the news every day, you can see all the frustrations, all the horrible things that are going on in this world, and it's easy to get into a negative frame of mind very quickly. I want to go the other way and go, what are the good things? What are the things that you're thankful for this year? What do we have to be grateful for versus frustrated because the stock market didn't do this, or the world is doing this or that, or politics? What are the things we should put a smile on our face and make us happy in our heart? What about you? What?
So I think, and I'm not, I think the negative is, there's nothing wrong with the negative. The negative is an opportunity to learn. So we don't shy away from the negative. We don't bathe in it, but you use the negative as evidence to pinpoint where you want to make changes. So the negative is valuable. Like what went well, what didn't, what needs work. But the positive, there's a lot of things that are positive. There's a ton of things that are positive. And when I think about this last year, like what has really, aside from the stuff that's every day, like, hey man, I woke up today. That's a win. Not everybody wakes up, seriously. It's like, if you can't recognize the miracles that are around you from minute to minute, second to second, you need to pull the veil off, because there's a lot of things that we should be pretty damn happy about.
Yeah, we take them for granted. Don't even think about them.
Man, we're our age. I mean, 100 years ago, you'd be dead. It's like you didn't live that long because something else would kill you. So we live in a pretty amazing time, pretty incredible time. So aside from the normal stuff that I have a lot of gratitude about, what stands out for me this year, the podcast is one. I think hitting a year mark was for you and I, we were just sort of dumbfounded that I think we did it, and that there's people are finding value out of it. Makes me so happy. Like, I can't even describe to you how happy that makes me, that people say, this helped me think about something, or it helped. There was some relatability. Didn't make me feel like I was the only one, or that I was so alone and insert some of this, or it encouraged me to go reach out and get some help in a different way, or have conversations with people that I haven't had conversations. Hell, have conversations with myself that I haven't been able to have. I think that is, to me, that's the ultimate goal. And, that's really cool to me. That's I'm very happy about that. The business LiftAffect has grown, and I'm very happy about that. I feel very fortunate. A lot of the airlines are comfortable using us as a resource, or providing this as a resource for their pilots. And I take that very seriously. And that means a lot to me, that they would entrust pilots with us. That doesn't, that's not lost on me. It's busy, and that's, it's trying to manage all that, but I remind myself and my team, we talk about, like, hey, this is really a pretty wonderful opportunity to be able to make a difference for people. I'm setting more limits on my time, which is good. I think that's a win for me. So those are some work related things. I think on a creative level, I'm spending a good amount more structured time actually being creative. My creative uh, outlet is writing and is making music, recording music, and I've got a writing partner that I've worked with for 25 years. And I talk to him almost every day. He's really one of my best friends, and we've still, after all these years, are still creating things. And there's some publishing stuff that's coming up with that, which is pretty cool. Like some, so it's those are huge wins for me. I'm still able to read books every week and apply them to what we're doing, and then lastly, I think on a work piece, a V1 project is a huge. That was a vision that I've had for 10 years, and I've done some beta testing with it, and now it is full launch. And I'm watching the community start to create things themselves. And that is just such a beautiful thing for me. So, and then, family wise, I feel very connected to my daughter. I feel very connected to my wife. There's some things that need work from family, friends type perspective. I need to make more time for friends because there's just no time for that. There hasn't been any time for that. I haven't made the time. I've tried to find the time, which is the ultimate failure. You never find the time. And I think on the financial front, I've made some good investments. They're long-term strategies. If anybody knows me, I don't gamble. I don't sit there with a stock ticker up on a computer. I was talking to my money guy, who he's such a good guy. I've become really good
Wonder
friends
how you
with him.
found him.
Yeah, thanks to Karl. But he's wonderful, and he's like, Matt, you're like the best client ever because you don't know what's going on, nor do you care. I'm not calling him every day. Like he said, hey, I want to put some money into this, and I'm like, okay, I don't care. I don't look at, because that's not my job. You've got to find somebody you trust, and I feel really like we're building more security around what we're doing, making some good decisions, long-term strategies. And that feels positive. So those are my reflections just off the top of my head. I mean, I haven't really thought about it. What about you? Forget me. What about you, man?
Well, I would say, to start off like you did, the podcast is, and I think I mentioned previously, I thought if we got to 20, 25 actually episodes out, that would be considered a success in a way, because it does take effort. It's making sure that we're able to talk about things that were relevant not only to us but to others. And now here we are. It's obviously a little over a year, but still essentially just over a year. And I think this is episode 60, and it's amazing. But I think what's more amazing and what I'm more grateful for is not so much what we've done, putting it out there, but the response that we've gotten back for it. And not that we actually, it resonates with people, and that people go, wow, other people feel what I feel. There's a resource. I have a place. These are things that I've wanted to talk about or didn't even know how to talk about. That's an amazing feeling to know that what you're putting out there, and you don't know who they are, you don't know what their circumstances are, but you're able to help them in some small way. I'm so grateful for that, because I had no expectation, because I didn't want to set myself up for going, well, I thought we'd get, in touch with X thousand people, or that we'd get this kind of a response. I expected nothing, because that way anything we got would have been amazing. And it's been so much more than that. And it's growing. We keep getting more and more and more. out there, and it floors me. From a I'm grateful for the fact that me I'm watching my wife do something that I think she's finally found, I think, something that really to sink her teeth into with this medical side of the house. And it's challenging watching her go through all the stuff right now, but I'm excited for her because I think she's finally
found something
going to have something that she and I'm going to say something that's kind of generic. I think one of the hardest jobs is to be a spouse and to be a wife in particular. It's a thankless
especially
job.
To you man.
Yeah, my God, that's enough. We can have an whole episode just on that.
Well, it's the pot calling the kettle black, man.
Well, you may be black, but I'm absolute black.
I mean, for sure, no doubt.
But it's a thankless job. You don't get paid for it. And sometimes a lot of spouses, in this case, like I say, wives, they come and they go, in my case, my wife's in her late 40s going, what do I have to show for this, monetarily? What am I putting into the house financially? And for her to sit there and go, you know what, this is something I want to do for myself, something I enjoy, and I'm contributing in different ways. She needs to have a fulfilling life, and I'm glad that I'm able to help her do that. My family, I'm watching my kids. They're growing up. My oldest is about ready to go to flight school. That's going to be amazing. I'm just blessed, and I guess I just try to tell myself, you want to focus on the negative, you'll find it, and it can consume you. You want to look and celebrate all the blessings that you have, and they're there for me every day. Something like you say, from the mundane that you take for granted. I'm breathing. I got up. I sometimes make my bed. I should make it more often, so to speak. But I'm just grateful in that regards. I look forward to where things are going. I'm grateful for Bree. Totally. She's that shameless plug for our premium channel.
Yep.
She does all the heavy lifting to help us get that content out to you, whether it's the transcripts or the questions, the resources. I'm grateful for her because there's only so much time in the day.
Yep.
And when you're offering that kind of information and content, you need people that you can trust and believe in. They're dependable. They're there, and I'm grateful for that because I'm grateful for in general all the people that help us be able to get this out to you. Without them, we wouldn't be here.
Yep.
So, I would challenge everybody out there: don't focus on the negative. You can. Matt was very correct when he said about the negative, but if you focus on that, it can consume you. Look at all the things that, like you said, professionally, in your work life, in your relationships, whether it's personal with your family, whether it's with your friends. Look at the things that put a smile on your face, or you put a smile on their face, and the gratitude. We have so much to be thankful for instead of to be going, oh man, it sucks to be me, or why me? That's when there's failure or frustrations, we can learn from things, but to sit there and beat ourselves up, very rarely does anything positive come out of that. It's just a downward spiral and makes you more negative and makes you feel worse. And it doesn't help the people around you. So that's what I would say is we should always look at trying to sit there and put ourselves in the best place possible so we can express the best version of ourselves to ourselves and to those around us.
Let me riff on that for a second. I agree. I agree with you. I agree and I disagree. I agree in that it's important. There's a very positive net effect of, resourcing yourself so that you can see what is positive. Your disposition to focus on the negative, this is to the listener, it's not your fault. We are biologically wired up to do that. And so we tend to spend 60% of our time on the negative. mean, we just know this, the data on the neuroscience of this, the cognitive neuroscience. We do that, and that is going to be. I mean, you can train yourself to not engage your prefrontal cortex in that way, and that's what. There's a lot of good targeted trainings that we work on to not, necessarily have that kind of reactive orientation just on reflex. But if you find yourself being negative, that's fine. Now, what matters is, what do you do with that? What do you do with it? Do you just let it fester? That's a problem. And that's, I think, what Karl's talking about. If you just sit in that and you don't proactively use that to your advantage, then you're just in an unresourced state and you're going to feel really bad. And your anxiety is going to be so through the roof. And the depression that comes out of that. And I mean, people, we could get into the difference between anxiety and depression, but we don't have to do that today. But what I'm encouraging you to do, if you find yourself in a I'm doomed kind of scenario, ask yourself, what are you so fearful about? What are you actually afraid of? And, put it down, write it out. There's something amazing. I mean, I had this last week, I had a lot of fear running around in my head about a particular thing. And I penned it out, holding up my pad of paper here. I mean, I just wrote, I just was like, bang, 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 bang. Here's my fear. And that one has allowed me to externalize it. It didn't just, it's like popping the relief valve, get some of that out of there, put it out. And then what am I afraid of? What do I suppose is going to happen? And when you write it out and you recognize that, and you don't try to hide it or don't try to just get over it, but you acknowledge it, it allows you to actually be able to come up with some strategies. Well, okay, well, that's unrealistic. Or that, okay, what would I do if that happens? Well, this is what I'm going to do. Well, what can I get out of this? Well, I can get out of this. I can learn from this. What is the opportunity here that this fear is offering me? Because fear is just showing you something that wants to be seen at some level. There's some intelligence in it. So don't be afraid to tackle your fear in a constructive way. And especially around the holidays, it can be very like, I'm watching my lovely spouse. She gets a little more stressed about wanting things to be a certain way. I'm kind of like, beer's in the fridge, help yourself, whatever, and she's like, no, you got to provide, you got to serve people and you have to do, and I'm okay. That's cool. But there's some fear in that, it's okay if your anxiety is up during the holidays. It's okay if your anxiety is even up when you're trying to reflect on this, what was good this year and what's next year going to be like. But use that as an opportunity to learn, not just perseverate in the anxiety around it. Use it as a signal to say, what can I do differently? How can I pivot? What is something that I need to do to maybe unhook from this fear so that I can direct my behavior in a way that is aligned with who I want to be and who's the best version of myself and what are the values I want to express? Let me try on a value that's going to better serve me with where I'm at. So you don't be afraid of it. It's okay if you're fearful. It's okay if you're negative. It's okay if you're really negative. I mean, the holidays can really bring out the negativity in some people. That's the whole story of the Grinch. That's the whole story of, Ebenezer Scrooge. Don't be afraid of that. It's okay. It's a natural human emotion is to be negative. Your thoughts, Karl? You can Karl's a much more positive guy than I am, generally, I think.
Ask my wife. I don't know if she'd say that.
I think as a value, though, you tend to try to see the...
I've always believed that hope springs eternal, and I want to believe that the best is just to come.
And hope is wonderful, too. Yes, hope is... you have to have hope. Hope is a future vision of something that's better than what it is. And I think that's absolutely essential. It's not the same as like just being optimistic. Optimism is just saying, I think it's going to be fine. Hope is like, I envision something more. And optimism is
And I
whatever,
do.
but hope is powerful.
I don't begrudge anybody what they think, believe, or feel. But I always struggle when somebody says, "Well, I don't want to have any children because I don't want to bring them into this world." And I'm going, I want to say, but they are our salvation. They're the ones who are going to help us have that better life and that future. Because without them, there is none. And that, again, that's me. I'm not trying to tell anybody else how they should feel, or if that's how they feel, then I get it and I respect that. But I just believe that the best is yet to come, and I just do.
Yeah.
I tell my children all the time, I want yesterday to be jealous of tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just want to be better than yesterday and not as good as tomorrow. I whether it is in my outlook and how I am as a man, a husband, and a father. And I look at myself in the mirror and I go, I didn't get where I want to be or what I thought, but like you said, failure is learning. And the
Yes.
key is, do I learn what it is and incrementally reduce the number of failures or the size of the failure? The frustrations or the impatience or the anger. It's a work in progress. I'm a work in progress.
Yeah. Embrace the failure. Failure is wonderful. Ask yourself, how did I fail? I do this with my kid every night. How'd you fail today? Well, how'd you fail today, Dad? This is how I failed. How did you fail? Well, what do we get to learn from it? What can we do? It's like, write it down and keep a log and come back to it. It'd be like, okay, come back to it in a month or 6, be like, well, what did I learn from this? That is where, if you think about your own life, some of the most significant moments of your life were probably the most painful, the hardest. That is where you the phoenix rose from the ashes, or it didn't,
But it all is there to prepare you for the next phase of your life, whether it's tomorrow or a week or a month. I kind of use my kids. People who have been listening on multiple episodes hear me always say what I tell my kids. But when I tell them, I said, think about the things that were just life ending and earth shattering when you were in middle school. Now are nothing. But then the things that were in high school were earth shattering.
Yeah.
But now you look at them today and go, God, I only wish it was like that. Same thing for us as adults. As you get older, the things that were just overwhelming a month or a year or 2 years ago, you now know how to cope with it. You know how to deal with it. And if that similar situation comes up, you're better prepared and better able to manage the feelings, the thoughts, the strategies. I just feel like that everything that we have, it's in the inside of us. It's our filing cabinet of experience, knowledge, and memories that we lean on, that as you're growing up, you didn't have.
Yeah.
We don't pass things on. Every child starts at the same spot. There is no passing on of, hey, you look at animals, they instinctually know what to do. It's like they're passed on. We don't pass hardly anything on. And so we have to build that library of knowledge and experience. And I think that people look back and go, well, it's hopeless. No, it's not. It's just and you've talked about it. Look at being in the moment. Very rarely is in the moment hopeless. It's when you inject the fear of the future or the experiences of the past that drives you to that, I have no options. I have nothing I can do. I have nowhere to go. But when you're in the moment and you bring yourself to what's going on right now, feeling things, smelling, hearing what's in that moment, it helps bring you back, calm you down, focus, re-cage the gyros. And before I let you go, you've said it twice and I want to come back to it. Writing things down is so important. And for our listeners, I believe it's on episode 26, and I may be off on the episode. It's on productivity. And one of the things we talked about is a journal. And then for those, obviously you couldn't see Matt do it, but he held up a productivity journal. He writes things down. And although those may be tasks, it's also different things that you hope to accomplish that you can look back retroactively and see where you've been. Because we have a tendency to forget a lot of things as time goes on. The mind has a way to take the edge off of things. And we might forget the real low lows and the real high highs, and realize how far we've come and what challenges we've overcome and what joys we've had. That journal, that productivity, when you write them down, you can look back and go, wow, look where I was, or look where I came from. And it also helps you go, am I on track to being where I want to be?
So and the smaller, more
use those tools that are out
insignificant, the better,
Yep.
The small, more insignificant, the better. It's doing a little, a lot. And let me just say something about if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling like you're in despair, you need to empower yourself. Despair is about feeling like you're totally disempowered. That's what despair is. There's no hope. And the way that we can turn that around is by being able to recognize the failure and learn from it. Learn from the failure. And my favorite word, responsibility. When you take responsibility, when you step up, you are now empowering yourself. And despair is disempowerment. That's what it is. That's what it is. So when you take responsibility, you are buying power back. Even in a situation that feels hopeless, that feels like there's no power. When you can respond by taking responsibility, you are now putting yourself in a position of control, of greater control. You are regaining control. So don't give up. People say hope isn't a good strategy. It's the ultimate strategy. It's the ultimate strategy. And if you read some of these documentaries or these books about people that have, sat out at sea for 200 days or trekked across, mountains and with nothing, and it was the hope that got them through situations where they said you shouldn't have lived. There's no way you could have made it. I was reading something with that Denny Fitch and Al Haynes had written about United 232, and they said, was there ever a time where you thought you weren't going to make the runway? And they said, no, absolutely not. We knew we were going to make that. We were going to hit the runway, get it. And they did. They got on the runway. And if they had, and look, when they put people in the sand, they couldn't recreate it. They couldn't do it. It didn't work. They defied physics in many respects. And it was what they all attributed, what got them through was they didn't give up hope that they were going to make it. They did not give up hope.
I had the privilege of meeting him because he was giving a speech at United.
Al or Denny?
Al. Al. Yeah, he had already retired, and it was amazing. Over a decade later, I think it was 15 years later, just the intensity as he was talking about it, the look in his face, and it was just amazing because I was going, the focus, was just amazing. He willed it. He said, I believed it. I knew it. It was just an amazing thing to watch. Just the words were one thing. It was what he delivered.
Yes.
It truly was. Like you said, no one was able to create it. And I don't know anybody ever has. It's amazing. Well, I think we're near the end, if not at the end. What is the one thing you want to share with everybody today?
I'm grateful for your time that you give us each week listening to what we have to say. The time is the most important asset that you have. It really is. It is the most. And so to give of your time and to implement any of the stuff that we encourage, and for that to move the needle, I'm just truly grateful that you would do that with your time. So I have a lot of gratitude in my heart for our community and I hope that you have a really good holiday. If it's really difficult for you, I hope that you can get through it. If it's not difficult, enjoy it. And I look forward to seeing you next, we'll see you next week, and then we'll see you next year. It's a good holiday.
And I echo those. I also want to say, for all of those, if you will click on one of two links inside of each of the episodes, regardless of which service you're using, one of them will take you to a free, very short, very quick news letter that we send out weekly, and the other will take you to our premium content channel. We don't ask for anything. If you love what you hear and believe in what we do, this is how you could support us. There's additional content, there's additional information and resources out there for you and for people that you love and care about. There's so much information there, and we're adding so much more on a regular basis.
Yeah, 2024 is going to be a big year. Yeah.
There's no requirement for a long-term subscription. It's a month to month. But if you believe in us and you believe in what we're doing, that's a great way to take care of that and help us along. Finally, we have one more new group starting up, cohort for our V1 project in January. We have a few spots still open. If you're interested, please go to the website, thev1project.com. And V1 is the number 1. Not the letters ONE. So thev1project.com if you want to have more information, to find out what it's all about and to sign up. We thank you. We hope that next week you have the merriest of Christmases, and we look forward to seeing you then. Until then, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the LiftAffect podcast. If you want to dive deeper into this episode and every episode, go to the LiftAffect podcast.podbean, that's podbean.com. If you're enjoying the show, we would love it if you'd follow us on Spotify and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate your support. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, all with the ID Matthew McNeil. This show is brought to you by LiftAffect, a clinical mental health and consulting company that assists air carriers, corporate flight departments, pilot unions, and commercial pilots by providing comprehensive psychotherapy and mental coaching services to pilots with mental health and mental performance-related issues. Visit LiftAffect.com, that's LiftAffect.com, to book your free consultation. And finally, this podcast is for general informational purposes only. It does not constitute the practice of counseling, psychotherapy, medicine, or any other healthcare service, including the giving of medical advice. No therapeutic or provider-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and any materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional psychological advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining advice for any psychological or medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the LiftAffect podcast.